This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
ElectraCast.
I definitely do think that men love a chase.
He's the dumb guy, the dumb, good-looking guy.
If you're not interested in the guy, you're not gonna go like, "Hey, buy me a snow cone."
He should have been like, "Okay, have a nice night." End of movie.
Welcome to episode 307 of Film Generations, where two guys from the 20th century select a classic movie to show a panel of young film lovers to see if it still plays for today's generation. I'm Mark Netter. I'm an instructor at the Los Angeles Film School and co-founder and CEO of ElectraCast Media and a sometime filmmaker.
I'm David Tausik. I was in college when Body Heat came out.
I'm Olive Goldberg. I'm an Emerson College graduate and aspiring filmmaker in New York.
I'm Sonia Howell, a senior at George Washington University, and I'm the editor for Film Generations.
Hi, my name is Guy. I'm a graduate of the Los Angeles Film School, and I like movies.
In August 1981, when movie audiences sought refuge from the summer heat in air-conditioned theaters, they found themselves burning even hotter in sweltering South Florida, where the humidity glistened on the often naked bodies of stars William Hurt in his second feature film and Kathleen Turner in just her first, as Ned Racine, a promiscuous bottom-feeding lawyer, and Maddie Walker, unhappy wife of a very wealthy man. Just like in our previous episode, Double Indemnity, our film noir protagonist falls so hard for the femme fatale that he willingly conspires with her to murder her husband so she can make off with his money and they can live happily ever after. But as yet another perfect crime unravels, Ned finds the walls closing in. You can't say he wasn't warned, as Matty observed when he first came onto her in an all-time classic movie line, "You're not too smart. I like that in a man." For writer-director Lawrence Kasdan, this directing debut showed incredible cinematic chops, building a heat wave of suspense and introducing not just Turner, but Ted Danson and Mickey Rourke to mass audiences. While deliberately referencing the film noir classics from over 30 years prior, Body Heat was the first Hollywood film to update the genre by depicting the literally naked physical obsession between the co-conspirators, something that could only have been implied during the years when the Hays Code censored Hollywood studios. Now, 44 years after the release of Body Heat, does it still blow hot for our young panelists like it did for audiences back then? Or are they cool on the movie? Let's find out. Aside from myself and David, was this everybody else's first time seeing Body Heat?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
No.
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 All right, let's start with Guy. When did you see it? What was your experience like back then? And was it different this time?
I was not supposed to see Body Heat. This is way back in the day when there's this thing called Cinemax. And, you kind of see stuff on Cinemax when mom is gone. And I saw Body Heat. And so, yeah.
How old were you at the time, do you think?
Tiny.
Like 8? Like 10? Like 13?
It's not, no teens. Less than a teen.
And
probably way less than a teen.
What was the effect on you?
So it was an interesting film, and
Lasting effect then.
Well, I don't know if it lasted.
Was it one of the... Did you find yourself rewinding and rewatching, or no?
Oh, they didn't have that option back then. Yeah, so next panelist, please.
What about this time? What was it like watching it this time?
surprisingly subdued. It didn't feel...
It didn't hit with the same punch it did when you were underage?
No, it did not. No. But it was cool. Yeah. This time around, yeah. Cool.
Olive, what about you?
Yeah, I liked it, and especially in comparison to the movie we watched last time, I thought it was kind of fun to watch something so similar and be able to compare and like with the more modern twist. I did find it a little bit slow, I would say. Also, yeah, like not the most thrilling throughout. There were definitely some scenes and moments that really stood out to me, but I didn't feel like it needed to be as long as it was.
Interesting. Sonia, what about you?
This was my first time watching it, and I did, like Olive, like to compare it to Double Indemnity, but I liked it actually a lot more than I thought I would. I like the setting of it just because it's the 80s. Like, I love watching movies from that time, and also just like the Florida like heat wave type of thing. Like, I thought it was really good.
Now, David, let's get to the older generation over here. Mm-hmm. What do you remember about your previous experience or experiences watching Body Heat? How did it compare to this time?
It's true the movie was famous for being hot. Not just the temperature in the rooms, but, the sex scenes and all that, which, really seemed very tame to me. Particularly, I didn't think like the chemistry was that amazing between William Hurt and Kathleen Turner. I remember thinking it was a little better the first time I saw it, but I don't think I've seen it since 1981, right? 44 years ago. There have been so many erotic thrillers since then. I wrote and directed one for Roger Corman also. And in preparation for making that movie, I must have watched 20 films like this. So, I got maybe a little saturated with the genre too, in between.
Nice.
Yeah. But I did enjoy the movie a lot. I loved William Hurt. I also liked the 80s period. Everyone's got the right haircuts, the right clothes, and talks the right way to just bring me right back to 1981.
I kind of feel like it's before 80s fashion actually got really bad. Like where today we look back and we laugh, like the super big hair and the fluffy shirts and things like that. I don't know. Like this is 1981, so they probably shot it in 1980.
Which is basically the 70s.
Yeah, I think
it is.
Well, I think there's something interesting about that, and I want to get into it because I keep trying to figure out if this movie has greater meaning other than just being a really well-crafted thriller and, neo-noir. I saw it in 1981. I was blown away. I loved it on the big screen. Even if you're watching it on a big TV now, it's nothing like seeing these bodies on a 50-foot screen in front of you with a full audience that back then actually did go to the movies. And it was kind of crazy to be sharing that experience in the theater. And then when the twists hit, you start to realize what's really going on. And the twists are relentless. There's many more twists here than Double Indemnity. And I've seen it.
You know what? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, but you know what makes it more of an 80s film? Even though it was made in 81, and a lot of films that came out then are definitely 70s movies. But this one had that 80s photography. It wasn't like grainy and dark. It was bright and post-Steven Spielberg. So it had that 80s feel for me.
Almost like if Spielberg was able to actually do a sexy noir with nudity, which of course would be outside his wheelhouse.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Now, I've seen it at least 2 other times since then, including a little earlier this year. It was on Criterion, and it was a pleasure to watch again. And then this time when I watched it, I was taking a lot of notes, so I kept kind of stopping and starting, through it and rewinding and checking stuff out. And then I've been listening to some podcasts about it prior to our recording. And there's even stuff I didn't even realize is in the movie, like how she, at a certain point, she switches to his brand of cigarettes. And you think that's kind of a romantic thing, and really it's just to know whether to get him screwed. So I want to mention, as we get into this conversation, it is a movie that is 44 years old. And we are going to be spoiling it because you can't talk about this movie without spoiling it in any depth or detail, unless you're doing just a cursory review.
It's amazing. So 44 years old. So in 81, a movie that was 44 years old would have had to be made in 1937, which would be quite a bit older than Double Indemnity. It's just odd to think of it that way for me.
Assuming when we were in college we saw Double Indemnity, it still would have been younger to us than Body Heat would be to you guys. It's interesting. And the other thing, too, is I think at least a couple of you are the same age David and I were when we first saw the movie.
Yeah.
A couple of people.
Well, except for Guy.
Oh, edit that out. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Is that as bad as Grace's mom showing her Psycho when she was 8 years old?
Well, I don't know, because it could be like along the same lines, like almost child abuse. Definitely child neglect on my part. You know what I'm saying? Someone should have been watching me.
So the first thing I want to ask about is the atmosphere.
I think it was extremely effective in making you feel like you were in that hot, groggy Florida sort of atmosphere. As I was thinking about why I found it a little slow, I was thinking that was probably intentional and it was dragged out to make you feel even more that slow grogginess. So in that sense, I think they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, especially like the first scene with Ted Danson in the diner and he had his 2 iced teas, like that was palpable to me. Like the actual heat is just making the air stand still. Like that's what it felt like. I could feel it in my body, like a little bit of fear for all of the characters.
And growing up in the South with all that heat, did you ever feel murderous due to the heat?
You know what? When the police officer said that people go crazy when the heat, starts, that is a very true thing. My parents work in mental health and so they notice when the summer starts, people go crazy. The heat really does make it worse. The winter is the calm time. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hot in the set. The iced tea was sweating. I mean, either they really sprayed down everything all the time because everything's so wet.
I actually read that it was unseasonably cold and they were shooting in January and they had to make it look hotter than it really was.
Yeah, they said it was freezing.
Interesting. Well, they did a great job. It looked really hot. Yeah, I think the film was supposed to, the script took place in New Jersey in the summer and then production got delayed. So,
is that true?
So they couldn't shoot this in New Jersey in the winter. So they moved it to Miami. But it's funny because the director's from Florida.
Were they going to shoot in New Jersey and pretend it was Florida, or were they going to shoot in New Jersey?
No, it was set in New Jersly in like a heat wave in the summer originally, the way it was written.
Oh,
I think Florida works better.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
I mean, you notice how they're driving around and it's like they're in the fog. Did anyone else notice this? Kind of the dreamy quality of the movie?
Yeah, I thought so too. It played as being very languid and dreamy. That's the way I experienced it rather than just feeling it was slow.
Particularly in the first half of the movie, every time Ned is going to where Maddie lives in Pine Haven, the rich enclave, it's always a dissolve. And whenever it goes back to Ned's real world where he's a sleazy lawyer downtown, wherever he lives, it's a straight cut. And that only starts to change once things start to get really intense with the plot. So I felt like there's this sense that Ned's kind of in a dream.
Yeah, I felt that towards the end, actually, with the shot of him going to jail. I kind of felt like, okay, is this a retelling of his memory of it, or is this an objective view?
And there were some dream references throughout. There was one where his friend he said something that I found really interesting. It was like, my dream was so boring, it woke me up and I couldn't go back to sleep. That was pretty funny. Never thought about a boring dream before.
Kasdan did say that he wanted it to feel like a dream.
Well, there was the other cool Ted Danson reference about the little girl's dream. That the irony was she woke up to a nightmare and it was everyone else's nightmare. Being walked in on by a small child, Yeah,
no, that's the scariest moment in the movie for the two of them, right?
Yes. And for the little girl.
I know. Poor girl.
I know. Literally.
We do things in dreams that we don't do in reality that aren't acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the dream-like fantasy is deeply tied to sex and sort of a metaphor for what it's like for these men to be under the grasp of a powerful, beautiful woman who's willing to sleep with them. And then it's just so hazy and not real that I guess it leads to them making terrible decisions that ruin their lives.
that moment where he breaks through the window, the first moment they actually have sex, so they're kind of looking at each other, they're flirting through the window, and she's said you can't come in. But then she's giving him this look like, well, what are you waiting for? And so, but he just bursts through a plate glass window, which is insane.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't feel very real. It feels like a dream moment almost because it's unexpected.
Yeah, and also it's like she's a married woman and she has a housemaid. How are you explaining the broken, like a door, right? It was a patio door or something like. How do you explain?
A front door, I think.
What happened?
She did clean the sheets later.
Is that the same day?
True.
Oh yeah.
So
okay.
did you guys? I think we asked this about Walter Neff in the last movie in Double Indemnity, but did you guys empathize with Ned at all?
No, I had no connection to him. I thought he was just like a horny guy who wasn't very bright. I didn't want his demise or anything. I was just like, eh.
Yeah, I also didn't feel like he saw himself either as like a victim. Like, I think he definitely knew that he was just like kind of fucking around with this girl and like he was gonna get whatever came to him, It's hard to feel sympathy for someone who like knows exactly what they're doing and knows that you're doing the wrong thing, so why are you making this decision, Because I think he even tried to do the right thing in the beginning by asking her if she could just get a divorce, because she still would get alimony, but like only for a year, but she was not willing to have that, she wanted everything.
Yeah, but that was all like fake too, right? That whole conversation about her happiness with her husband and all that kind of stuff, because later on you find out that she's been setting Ned up for like a year, but that still didn't make me feel sorry for Ned at all, He was sleeping around with a lot of girls, he was getting what he wants, and then like he met this rich lady and then just got greedy.
I don't see any moments where you're supposed to feel sorry for him. He never feels sorry for himself the whole time, and yeah, he's asking for it.
Well, I feel like when I saw the movie, I was probably 9 years younger than he was. I know Kathleen Turner was 27 when she made the movie, and he was probably 30, right? And so I still kind of looked up to these people, and William Hurt's a very attractive guy, and I thought like, oh, I'm kind of with him, and, I was sure a horny young man like William Hurt. I wouldn't go that far as to murder somebody, and probably wouldn't track somebody down to a bar in a part of town I'd never been to before. But
you probably wouldn't do any of the stuff he did. You wouldn't break the patio door. You wouldn't do any of those things.
I don't want to be
None
liable.
of us would. Right.
But there's two things that I think kind of get us on Ned's side a little bit, that kind of mediate his stupidity. Because it's only later that I realize, oh, this guy's stupid. Like, he's the dumb guy, the dumb good-looking guy, which, of course, kind of plays into what I believed about good-looking guys back then anyway. But the first thing is this amazing opening where you're watching part of the city burn from the window, where he's just slept with someone who keeps saying, you don't care about me, you don't care about me. And he really doesn't. But what he does care about is that some of the history is being burned away. So this gets to the times, this gets to the generational thing, this gets to something that might be a little deeper in the movie. But I think to some degree you can care about somebody who cares about a history being destroyed, even though he's kind of part of it. And then the second thing, and this is maybe a little subtle, I'm glad that there's two women in our panel right now about this. He does ask for consent. When he breaks through the window and she's on the floor in that crazy overhead shot where he comes into frame, he asks her if she wants him to go ahead or not. And when she says yes, he does. Which I think is like...
But it's too late, Like, the initial, like, hi, I'm married, he should have been like, okay, have a nice night. End of movie.
Well, that's a question of morality, right?
It's not that kind of movie.
Right, but also Maddie was kind of saying no by saying, keep talking to me. You know what I mean? Like, when they first met on that pier, right? She's like, hey, I'm married and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, hey, I'm still talking to you or whatever. And, she like, hey, buy me a snow cone. If you're not interested in a guy, you're not going to go like, hey, buy me a snow cone. You may be like, Absolutely. Hey, you buy me a drink, and they take a drink and leave. But you're outside and it's a snow cone.
Didn't he offer the snow cone first, or am I wrong about that?
I think he asked her to buy her a drink, and she was like, you can buy me that snow cone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we now know she was interested and why she was interested.
Oh, yeah. I think she was definitely playing hard to get. I definitely do think that men love a chase, you know? And so, like, she's luring him in. I really feel like that. I saw that now.
She did run away. I forgot that she ran away initially and left him.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that was part of her trying to get him to keep chasing after her.
It's psychology, right? Like, we only pursue that which retreats from us.
Mm-hmm.
But by the same token, she gave him multiple off-ramps before they actually slept together. He did not take any of them.
Mm.
So let's talk about her for a sec. Did anybody either identify with or empathize with her?
Not really. I think, no, I think she's kind of a bad person just as a fact, but that is what is likable about her, and that's what makes her intriguing and enjoyable to watch and almost empowering. I think that is the most redeemable quality as like a female form of empowerment. I think the way she represents like using men to get what you want is
Sonia's nodding, yes.
theoretically a wonderful message for us girls. But, you know, there's ways to do that are more moral.
Yeah, and I think she does this really interesting thing that, well, I'm letting you guys in on a secret, but on a thing that women do that, like, you assume that I'm stupid and, like, that I have no idea what's going on. And I'm playing all of you, you know? Like, I'm playing the game. For example, like, pretending that you can't pick up something, even though you know you can, just because you don't want to do it. Like, I've done that 1,000 times. Like,
that's not we see that coming. We just, they just like you a lot. They know what that is.
Yeah, but she definitely plays everyone because her husband assumes that she has no idea what any of that stuff is about the will or like anything that has to do with the law around the will. And even Ned, like, he has no idea that she is just playing every single person.
We'll be right back with our discussion of body heat.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
Gary the Snake.
And your last name?
The Snake.
Dream Team. New habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home. Zootopia 2, now available on Disney+, rated PG. And right now you can get Disney Plus and Hulu for just $4.99 a month for 3 months with a special limited time offer. Ends March 24th. After 3 months, plan auto-renews at $12.99 a month. Terms apply.
One of the things that I learned when making a movie is that you got to show your character's excellence in order to be able to empathize with them. And I guess for Ned, his excellence is getting women in bed. I mean, I guess that's probably it. But for her, it's revealed at the end that she's a mastermind. She's like brilliant. Yeah. She even orchestrates writing a second will that she's not supposed to write, that you think she's intending to give herself all the money, but really she's intending for it to fail so that she then really gets all the money. It doesn't have to give anything to the niece.
Right, like it's evil, but it's genius and you respect it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's nothing to really root for them, but because they're bad, they're fun to watch. Much more fun to watch than well-behaved people, especially in movies.
The Maddie character, I empathize with. And I kind of knew how it was going to end, but she's the type of character that you watch pull off this great feat that is just ultimately super cool, you know what I'm saying? And also, William Hurt is a good-looking guy, but Kathleen Turner was super sexy, you know what I'm saying? Her raspy voice, her cadence when she talked. It's attractive, you know, it's super sexy. And yeah, she was the one that I was rooting for.
For Ned, was he really in love or was it just lust?
It did not seem very permanent.
I didn't feel any love, but I have to think in his mind he must have been in love to do what he did.
I think it was just greed.
Right, he just wanted the money.
So you take a shot and you try to shoot before the opportunity leaves. That's what I think.
Well, the husband, in fact, actually says to him when they're alone in the restaurant, some guys just want a quick hit. And Ned says, that sounds like me. And it's so disarming, right? Because you're like, yeah, of course it sounds like you. And you admitted it. So You know, that kind of self-knowledge makes you kind of appreciate him a little bit.
And the balls to be sitting in front. I mean, I know they're acting, but the balls to be sitting in front of the husband whose wife you were sleeping with and just charm is incredible. You know what I'm saying? How do you do that? Badass.
Well, and they didn't seem to be doing much sleeping in those scenes. So, do you think that Maddie at any point was actually in love with Ned? I mean, she does say at one point that that was not part of the plan, that she would fall for him, but is that just her playing him again?
It definitely did have me questioning when she was like about to go blow herself up, and the last thing she said was like, I'm telling you I love you, like trying to convince him. I was like, I wonder, but I don't think so. I think she just wants money in the beach and like had a new boo next to her on the beach. So.
I mean, like basically next day.
Doesn't she look a little bored on the beach? Like that last shot, it's not like her like, ha ha, I did it at all. She looks actually really bored and distant, and I almost wonder if she's thinking about Ned. She doesn't seem to be into the guy that she's with, even though he's some kind of young foreign, you know.
Well, in fact, he says
place
something.
That mountain range. I couldn't place it.
They shot in Hawaii, I think. But, you know, the guy has like a Portuguese accent or something, or I don't know what he's speaking. And he basically is saying, it's so hot. You know, is this her next mark? Like, what's going on here? But there is that thing where he says that and she's like, what? Like, she's not paying attention. And you almost think, because you're cutting from Ned, was she thinking about Ned?
That's what I thought.
I see that now. Yeah. I thought she was just relaxing, but
I think the first time I saw it, I just thought, oh my God, she is ice cold. She is the ice cube in the middle of that beach.
Right.
And this time I really watched as the camera, because it's all one shot. It's an amazing circular shot. The whole movie has a lot of these circular tracking shots, which are all about entrapping characters, right? But the first time you see her, it's just you see the sunglasses, but then you can kind of see her profile. You can see her eyes under the sunglasses, and she's not closing them. She's kind of blinking and thinking. So I think it's probably a Rorschach test for the audience. It's one of those open moments.
I kind of agree with the thought that like she's not in love with him, because I couldn't help but notice this in every single scene with Ned. She has on her wedding ring. And I feel like, okay, if you're having an affair and like, you know that you're doing something and you don't love your husband, you don't even like him, why are you wearing your wedding ring? You know, like I would take it off as soon as he leaves. Like, what would be the purpose of you even wearing that?
Not forgetting it.
I guess.
Put it back on, forgetting where you put it.
I guess.
It's interesting, though. So did the husband deserve to die?
Yes, he was a gangster. He's a criminal. Does he deserve to be killed as like a human being? No. But do we know that he's like the type of person that wouldn't kill a person? I wouldn't put any money on that. He seemed like he would absolutely mow a guy down. So, you know, you get what you get.
What do you think his business is?
I think it was a mob adjacent person. You know, some illegal real estate dealings, maybe a little bit of gambling, a little some of this, a little some of that. That's what he seemed like. Like, hey, whatever's the money, because he says the line, some people aren't willing to do what's necessary, and I'll do what's necessary. And that means anything's on the table, you know.
yeah, I almost got the sense that he was doing similar schemes to what she was doing, or what we saw in Double Indemnity with the insurance, like those sorts of fraudulent things.
Yeah, and I was like thinking about what he said he does, like venture capital or like investing, which I was like, okay, then why are you going on so many work trips? Like that, I was like, why is he gone all the time?
But also, like, when Ned came back for the night that they were going to kill the husband, he went straight to the closet, pulled out his gun, and was like, I'm finna catch this motherfucker. Like, this is not going to be the first guy he shot, you know? He was really just in there, ready to rock. He's a gangster. Maybe not a capo or something like that, but he probably knows them all in Florida.
But is that part of the generational thing happening in the movie, that like venture capital, gangsterism? What's the difference?
There is no difference, really, honestly. I mean, like private equity and like organized crime is, you know, it's right up there.
I don't know about that, but okay.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, it sounds like somebody's been watching the news.
This is where, like, the 1981 aspect of it is really interesting to me. We're coming out of the 60s, where you have the disillusionment of the Vietnam War and Watergate, and a younger generation, which has now become adults, right? You know, they're kind of like, okay, I'm going to get my own, but, you know, those older folks, they're still corrupt. Fuck them. And in a sense, Ned's idea of killing the husband is a bit of a generational thing. I mean, the husband is clearly an older generation than both him and Maddie, right?
No, I agree. And I mean, that's the only sense to which I could say that there's some similarity between like venture capital and being gangsters. From that young point of view of don't trust anyone over 30, you know, because they're all investing in the stock market and doing other unsavory things, you know, that we can't do because we don't have enough money.
Until we inherited from the husband we killed.
Yeah, and then as soon as we're over 30 and we have that much money, then we go play the stock market too. That's the way the game works.
Why do you think the husband invites Ned to join them for dinner? Do you think there's anything intentional there, or do you think it's completely innocent?
I don't know. That was weird to me too. Maybe he suspects it. I mean, he's gone all the time and she's gorgeous, so wouldn't
Yeah, how do you know this guy?
He runs into him in the restaurant, right? And then the spur of the moment, he says, like, oh, why don't you come sit down with us? I felt like, you know, that's the kind of guy he is. He's always looking to make contact. You know, he's a businessman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it felt natural to me, like he didn't really have any ulterior motives. But
the husband's not very charismatic, so I was like, how did they even, like, she must have been planning this from the beginning, because they don't even make sense together. One, the age gap, okay, you can kind of forget that. But then also just like personality-wise, it just doesn't make sense.
But then Ned repeats back to the detective friend at the end when he's figured everything out and they meet in prison. He says she was willing to do what was necessary, which is just what the husband had said.
They're a match in that they're both immoral characters, but it doesn't mean that they're suited for each other.
By the way, that actor, Richard Crenna, he played the Walter Neff character in Double Indemnity. It was the made-for-TV movie version.
God.
So 8 years later,
connection.
8 years later, he's playing the old guy.
I always kind of assumed that's why he got cast in the role.
Gotta be, right?
Yeah, you'd think.
So is there something about the morality of the time? And, you know, in Olive, you were talking about the cheating and that stuff, too. It's not like adultery has disappeared from society, right?
This is pre-AIDS. This is like the height of the sexual revolution, you know, or maybe the tail end of it. But anyway, sexual morality felt very different, especially in the movies in 1981 than it feels now.
I totally agree with you, David, but I'd love to know if our panelists feel the same way. Does the movie feel like a different morality to you than today?
I think it's framed differently because I had thought about that actually when I watched the movie. Like, okay, if this was made now, like people would automatically, you know, be against it. Because I do think, like, especially in the last like 2 or 3 years, there's been a lot of, especially with my generation, purity culture, some rumblings underneath. So I definitely think people would feel like it's morally wrong, you know, to cheat. And then not only that, to like cheat in order to get money from someone, you know. But there are certain groups of people who are like, oh, maybe they have an open marriage or something. Like, you know, like it's very different rules of like relationships now.
Is it because you're more likely to get caught now with camera phones and social media?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I disagree. Like in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I think that cheating on a wife, especially in male society, was considered more acceptable because you had to get married, you had to have a wife and kids, you had to do the right thing, support a family, even to do stuff like get a promotion, you know what I'm saying? But nowadays in today's society, post third wave feminism, there's really no reason to A, get married, and 2, to cheat. You know what I'm saying? Like the need for marry a woman to hide your homosexuality, it's gone. You can be gay. The need to marry a woman just to raise kids, there's single parents all over the place. You know, there's no societal demand to fake a marriage.
Mm-hmm. I agree. There's another layer too, which is there's just a lot more moralizing. course, there's always been a lot of moralizing. And the people who do the moralizing, what kind of moralizing they do, shifts all the time. You had maybe a lot of right-wing moralizing back then, and the left was more of these morals are kind of old-fashioned. We're sophisticated adult people, we can, fool around, and we know it's just sex, and it's not harmful, and da-da-da-da. But there's so many other moral dimensions now. There's this whole question of feminism. Morality has changed in a lot of ways since that time.
I wonder about the morality of going after money. Stop me if I'm wrong. This is kind of the first Reagan Revolution movie. It came out after Reagan was elected. A few years later, you have Wall Street, where Michael Douglas says greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Is this kind of the beginning of something where, like, today we'd be like, yeah, whatever you can do to get the money, go for it?
Yeah, I don't think that's changed throughout history. I think that is a phenomenon of human existence. I mean, like, throughout history, people just do stuff for money, But
maybe it used to be more hidden. Maybe you wouldn't say it. Now you could say it, and people might agree with you. Whereas I think in 1980, if you said, yeah, whatever I can do to get a buck, I'm going to do it, people would kind of think you're a lowlife.
Right.
And, yeah. And I mean, now, like, there's like a whole internet culture of, like, I don't know if all of us heard this, like, on TikTok, on, like, Sprinkle. It's literally this lady who goes on YouTube and, like, gives women tips on how to find a man who will, like, provide a certain life for you.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. It's insane, but it's escalated, past being silent about it to, like, now it's like an overt thing.
Right. And also there's this culture of, like, hustling and side gigs and people selling feet pics. And I've sold my plasma. Like, this society is so expensive. Like, there's like this whole huge thing with sugar daddies and that, like, people be doing some crazy shit for money.
Why shouldn't I accept a $1 billion jet from Qatar? Right? Like,
wow.
Why shouldn't my sons be making deals with Saudi Arabia? I'm not involved with that. Even though I'm having the king come to my house.
Yeah,
the
don't
prince.
get me fucking followed. You know what I'm saying? On the rant. You know what I'm saying? Don't get I don't get investigated. I'm scared.
We'll be right back.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
I thought it was spicy compared to Double Indemnity and tame compared to what is made today.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's very tame compared to, like, not a good comparison, but like Euphoria or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Where it's like, the whole other end of the spectrum. I thought it was tasteful also because it wasn't like nudity all the time, but it was like necessary. I didn't really like the part where the little girl I didn't realize that she saw him completely naked, like, and then they were laughing about it. I did not think that was funny, but I did not. I was like, okay, no. But besides that, I thought it was pretty tasteful. Yeah.
There was a cut, evidently, that had more sex in it.
There was a cut of this movie that had more sex in it.
Yeah, they shot a lot more sex, and then they decided not to use it all. The less was more.
Yeah. And he
I
actually
thought it was, like, interesting about Mickey Rourke, because, he did Angel Heart, he did Leading Man, Sex, Cheap,
6.5 weeks.
Yeah. I thought it was 9.5 weeks. Wasn't that?
Yeah, 9.5 weeks. Yeah. No, I watched the version that was cut for an airplane.
An airplane, yeah.
Yeah.
Funny that we both thought of that too. This made Mickey Rourke a star. I mean, he had a couple of movies he was in around this time, and people started noticing how much he eats up the screen. His presence is really strong, and I think he makes a lot out of a very small part in this movie. And this, I guess, was followed up by Rumblefish, where he really...
Diner first.
Movie. Oh, and Diner, right. That's right, Diner.
The music, too, like that Bob Seger number is playing, Feel Like a Number, which is also a generational thing about how the establishment is keeping you down. Cuts to the scene, the music's blasting, and it's a relief from the rest of the movie, which has a completely different feel to it.
Oh, that reminds me. I really like the little theme song. I can't remember how it went, but the like suspenseful instrumental. Thing was quite good.
John Barry wrote that. He's a great composer.
One of the
I
best.
could tell it was like this legit soundtrack.
So with Olive and Sonia, did Mickey Rourke hit with you guys, or his character?
Yeah, I thought they were friends in the beginning, but I realized he was like an ex-client of his. But I felt like he was really sympathetic towards his character, and like it made me feel bad for Mickey Rourke's character because he got wrapped up in this, and I felt like a wrong person, wrong time type of thing.
Right.
I think the interesting thing about his character is a reflection to Ned's character. Another young guy doing something on the wrong side of the law. But I feel like the difference is he has a code.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Ned has a code.
When he warned him a little about how it's dangerous, he really brushed it off. Didn't seem to care at all.
I think the line is there's 50 ways this can go wrong. And if you can think of 25 of them, you're a genius. And you're not a genius.
Yeah, that is a great piece of dialogue and storytelling. You know what I mean? Like, I used to look up to you, and you helped me out. And so now I'm helping you out by telling you the same thing that you told me, you know?
And he's basically just like, I've done it before.
He asked him if you wanted him to do it instead. You know what I'm saying? He was like, completely, you know.
Bro code.
It's a very generous offer.
Bro code. I was going to say honor amongst thieves. That's what I was going to go with it. But bro code, that works too.
No, you're right. I mean, he's got a moral center, the Mickey Rourke character, whereas I think that Double Indemnity and Body Heat, they're both really about guys who start off missing that moral center. They're just floating through life. You know, they could be doing better. Like, they're perfectly capable, intelligent people, but they're not doing anything worthwhile. They're just going through the motions of their jobs and floating through life. And then the whole movie is just them getting what they deserve because they haven't really found anything worthwhile to center themselves around.
Do you guys all feel Ned gets what he deserves at the end?
Absolutely.
Oh,
It was satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh, satisfying might be a stretch. Actually, he just really seemed super pathetic. Like, he was like whiny at the end. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, so what she got away, dude? You killed her husband. You're a murderer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Oscar says that to him, right? You still murdered him. So what's the significance of Matty giving Ned the fedora? Is it something that could just be cut out of the movie, or is it just a film noir echo? Like, what's going on with that?
I don't know, it reeks of symbolism.
It does?
But I'm not sure what it's a symbol of.
Well, I did notice that when it started to fall apart and he threw his hat on the hat rack, he didn't quite hit it.
He missed. Yeah, he's a loser.
Yeah. And it was...
Philip Marlowe would have nailed it.
Yeah. Like, you're supposed to be cool in those situations. And he missed the mark. So...
I feel like the second half of the movie becomes a mystery. And that's the point at which he's becoming a detective. Not a very good one until the very end, but too late. But, you know, you're talking about motifs. Obviously, there's motifs like the cigarettes. There's so much smoking in this movie. It's so 80s.
Oh, my God. That one scene killed me in the
lawyer's office?
He says,
no,
do you mind
okay.
if I
I'll
smoke?
just breathe the air. Ted Danson had the best lines in this movie. You know what I'm saying? This is the guy you wanted to be. He's the role that you wanted to play.
Yeah, the lawyer says, mind if I smoke? And like 3 other people light up.
Immediately.
Yeah, they're constantly smoking inside. I noticed that. I was like, I feel like I haven't seen that in movies in the 80s, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
and
it's
then...
still...
Sorry to cut you off, but what's his name? Tony, right?
I think so, yeah.
He was like, don't smoke in here. Again, I don't know what the symbolism is, but that stood out.
Yeah. They smoke every time.
Because they were in the...
oh, right, where they can blow
the bounds where the explosives were.
Right. No symbolism, just danger.
But maybe that is a symbolism, you know, that they're literally smoking in the heat. Right? Smoking in the heat, by the way, is like, I'm assuming that the younger folks here have never been through like cigarette addiction, like, you know, back in the day. But there's something special about smoking when it's really hot outside and you're breathing in the heat and the smoke at the same time.
I wouldn't say special. As in, I would say
permanent lung damage.
It kind of hurts.
How about here's another motif that I was noticing this time around. Both the ocean and a number of scenes taking place at a rail overlooking the ocean. Does that suggest anything? Or am I fishing too hard?
Are you talking about at the estate? Well,
the first time is when he meets Maddie, right? And she walks out of the band shell and she's overlooking the ocean. There's another one where he jogs and then lights a cigarette. Everybody laughed in the theater back when that happened. But the second time he does it and is overlooking the ocean, you get a sense that, maybe he's starting to get a little overwhelmed. And then the third time that I remember is when the prosecutor friend, Ted Danson, comes to tell him that he's basically screwed.
Well, and then that's where Maddie ends up.
Right, yeah. Right. Did anyone notice in the Maddie yearbook photo that it said that she was on the swim team?
Yes, and I saw her quote, too. Like, when she grew up, she said, I want to be rich and I want to live in an exotic place.
Yeah.
I was like, this is freaky. Yeah.
Honestly, that last scene was my favorite part of the whole movie. It really made it.
Yeah, and
it
that
really
twist at the end, that elevates it. That brings it beyond Double Indemnity in some ways, because it's a better plot twist.
Right, because she's up to something and she's scheming, but the identity theft is unexpected.
Stolen by Basic Instinct about 8 years later.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with our discussion of body heat.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
All right, guys, let's move on to research. Sonia, you have anything to tell us about the making of the movie?
So, like everyone previously said, it was supposed to be shot in New Jersey, but because of an actor's strike, it was moved to Florida, like Palm Beach area. And it was absolutely freezing in every single scene that they shot. I read this article from a local Palm Beach publication. They said that every actor was struggling. They would spray down everyone, made sure that they looked visibly wet. The scene where they were shooting outside, any time that they were shooting at night, they had to spray them down, make it seem super, super hot. They had to put ice in their mouths so that they wouldn't fog up the air. It was that cold. It was an unseasonably cold winter in Florida.
Movie magic.
Yeah, I was very surprised by it. I was like, this is some really good special effects. They shot it in 43 days, such a short amount of time. And the director said that he thought this would be his only movie that he would get to shoot. So he wanted to make it the best it could possibly be. He crammed everything in, and they shot at night most of the time as well. So he said it took forever to shoot everything because they would have to light up each scene before they would go on. So I thought that was really interesting that it was literally 40 degrees. Most of the time that they were shooting, when they were on the beach, they had to put wood planks up to stop the wind from coming at the actors because it was that freezing cold. I can't even imagine.
That sounds miserable. They were in thin short sleeves.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
When they were wearing clothes.
Yeah, and they were sprayed down with water, which
yeah, it's worse.
Pretend to be hot.
Awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. One of my favorite scenes is the one where they're in the bathtub together and they're sucking on ice and sharing ice with each other, because it's kind of the biggest romantic scene where you feel like they might really love each other. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming that was in the studio, so maybe it wasn't so bad. But if that was in cold, my God.
Yeah.
Guy, what about the reception?
1981, the number one movie in the world was Superman 2. Number 2 was Stripes. 3, Cannonball Run. Number 4, For Your Eyes Only, which is my favorite Bond film of all time.
Oh.
And then The Four Seasons. So Body Heat had some contenders, you know what I'm saying? Also Excalibur. You know what I'm saying? Which is
it's a great movie.
Love that movie. But Body Heat came in number 13. So like the budget was I think $9 million, and they grossed $24 million, which at that time was a success.
Olive, did you have anything about the times?
Yeah, so this movie is a neo-noir film, which is a modern take on film noir. So it deals with a lot of similar themes of darkness, crime, dangerous feminine character, and brings down this weak man. Some other films of this neo-noir movement are things like Taxi Driver, Chinatown, Blade Runner. And they reflect, as you mentioned earlier, Mark, some of the things that were happening in society at the time, things like Watergate, and with Double Indemnity, it was coming off of World War II. This is like Vietnam War. So some like similar sort of just tragic events happening that I think these movies reflect the themes of. And then, of course, the sexual revolution of the 60s and 70s, this is coming off of that. And the removal of the Hays Code, so they were able to show a lot more, and that was also just kind of popular in society at that time to have more sexual expression.
Well, I may have mentioned in the last episode when James M. Cain saw not Double Indemnity, but another adaptation of his work in the 40s, Postman Always Rings Twice, he said, "Where's the fucking?" Yeah. And this movie answers that question.
There it is.
David, tell us about writer-director Lawrence Kasdan.
Lawrence Kasdan. So, born 76 years ago in Miami Beach, Florida. Grew up in West Virginia. By the time he went to college, he already knew he wanted to be a film director and decided he would write scripts. The only way he could think to become a director. His first 5 scripts went nowhere, so he struggled for about 8 years. He took jobs he didn't like, including an advertising job. And then his 6th script, The Bodyguard, was turned down by everybody in Los Angeles, but it got him an agent, and the agent shopped it around for 2 more years and was eventually able to option it to Warner Brothers for $20,000. And then his next script, Continental Divide, caught the eye of Steven Spielberg, who had Universal buy it for more money, $150,000, and who also, with George Lucas, they hired Kasdan to write a new project called Raiders of the Lost Ark that they were working on along with many other projects. And they were very happy with Kasdan's script. So Lucas also hired Kasdan right then and there to write the sequel to Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. And you want to talk about a big break. Getting to write these 2 films, made him an overnight success after 8 years of struggling, and enabled him to direct his first movie, which was Body Heat. And as Guy mentioned, it was a success, so he was able to follow it up with A Big Chill, which is an even bigger hit. One of the first movies to really use a 60s soundtrack. There was The Graduate, which had a Simon and Garfunkel soundtrack, but this was kind of an omnibus boomer soundtrack with all the hits from the baby boom era. And so he suddenly was at what turned out to be the pinnacle of his career. He had carte blanche to make the personal projects he wanted to make. And as it turned out, none of those really matched the popularity of what he'd already done. He made Silverado with Kevin Costner, and Kevin Costner did revive his Bodyguard script, but it was directed by somebody else. Nonetheless, it made $500 million.
Jesus.
And then he made Accidental Tourist with William Hurt. That was kind of a mature, interesting film, which got Kasdan the 2nd of his 3 Best Screenplay Oscar nominations. The 3rd nomination was for Grand Canyon. But it's one of those careers where he hit big early, and it feels like there was a kind of downward trajectory. He continues to work to this day, still making films, and many of them have been interesting, but it's definitely a case of very early success, followed by a return to the norm.
We'll be right back with our panel's recommendations and ratings for Body Heat.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, time for our recommendations and reviews. 4 stars is not only a great movie, but one that has touched you personally, an A+. 3.5-star movie, that's a great, great film. A 3-star movie is an A-. That's typically a really interesting film that may not rise to the ultimate greatness of the others, but is still well worth watching. Then we got the Bs. 2.5 stars is a B+. That's a good genre movie. If you like the genre, definitely check it out. A 2-star movie is a B-. Even if you like the genre, you may find it not that great, might fall short. You got a 1.5, a 1, which are C's and D's, and a 1/2-star movie is in fact a movie that's so bad that it's actually good, and there are no 0-star movies because it is really, really hard to make a movie. You deserve at least 1/2 star. All right, this time I'm going to start with Olive. Who would you recommend this movie to, and how many stars?
I would recommend this movie to people who are passionate about films. I wouldn't say it's like an old movie, but you know, for our generation, it's an older film. So people who are interested in film noir or like even the history of intimacy in movies, I think this would be an interesting one for. I might have to do a 2.5 after my first viewing, which isn't bad. I feel like sounds bad, but it's a B+. It's still good. I enjoyed it. There were a lot of things I liked about it, but I don't feel like it really had an impact on me. This isn't my favorite genre. It doesn't make me like feel very much. So I think it was well done for what it was, but didn't really connect too deeply with me.
Sonia, what about you?
I definitely would suggest this movie for anyone who likes film noir. Also, like, to give like more of a modern look at it, because I think viewing like older movies can be kind of intimidating for some people, or like, you know, not as inviting. But I definitely do like this, especially if you like movies from the 80s. I feel like this is like a very 80s movie. But for my rating, I would give it a 3, because I did end up coming away kind of surprised, and I felt like I made some connections in my mind with like other things that I've been thinking about. So yeah, I relatively liked the movie, and I thought it was pretty good.
Guy, I know that normally I surprise you by having you go first, but you're third here.
I didn't show up last week, so you're kind of punishing me. I got it. Someone makes a movie, it deserves your eyes. Everyone should watch every movie ever made. That being said, it seems like a movie that couples should probably watch. You know, it's a little racy. You know, it gives you the whole sexy film noir crime cool line thing. You know, it's kind of romantic. I know it may not.
It's funny. It kind of reminds me of something Sharon Stone said about Basic Instinct. She goes, "It's just a movie. You eat your popcorn, you go home, and you make love with whoever you saw the movie with."
Yeah, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a great Netflix and chill, even though you probably can't see this on Netflix. Yeah, I had to jump through some hoops to see this movie, but yeah, it's cool. So I give it a 3. You know, it's good.
David.
Yeah, I also give it a 3. I remember when it came out, I wasn't bowled over by it. I thought, oh, this is a good, well-made movie. I thought it was fun. I did really like the stars. You know, a lot of those actors were unfamiliar to me back then. So he introduced, to me at least, Mickey Rourke, Kathleen Turner. I had not seen William Hurt before. Ted Danson I hadn't seen before either. All new faces. Very good in that way. I mean, I'd recommend it to people that like erotic thrillers. That genre can be pretty awful. And this is more than that. But it's also not in the caliber of films like Chinatown or Taxi Driver, which, really are films that have something new to say. And this film goes over pretty familiar territory, but in a really competent and enjoyable way. So to me, that makes it a 3.
I agree with everybody that I would recommend this movie to people that love thrillers, erotic thrillers, any thrillers, film noir. If you're really a fan of incredible screenwriting, I agree with David, it's not at the level of Chinatown. which has a bigger feel because it's really about city corruption, government corruption as well, and business corruption at a higher level. And I really struggle between whether this is a 3 or a 3.5 star movie for me, because I love film noir. It's arguably my favorite genre. I think pretty much every movie Stanley Kubrick made has ultimately got film noir elements to it, and he's my favorite director. And I kind of want to balance out Olive on this one.
Let's do it.
Because when I think about my favorite movies of all time, this is on the list. I just enjoy watching it so much. I remember when I saw it in the theater, and everybody was kind of blown away. And the ending is blow away. Like, people were laughing, but not at the movie. Like, oh my God. And no one had seen anything like this. I got to tell you, that sexuality on the big screen's incredible. And there was a particular shot where you just see Kathleen Turner, which I think is implying way more than almost anybody could handle at the time. But I think that what's really interesting about this movie is how it's so sensual. We've talked about the atmosphere, the sweat, the heat, the sexuality, but it's also a thinking person's movie. And especially as the stuff happening to Ned and all the reversals towards the end, your mind is working really hard. And your mind's even working like after the movie, but not in a bummer way, like in a fun way. Because it's a puzzle, right? So I think the level of the lines, the pleasure of the performances. I mean, there's only like 8 real characters in the movie. And 4 of them are William Hurt, Kathleen Turner, Ted Danson, and Mickey Rourke. And 5th, Richard Crenna. This is a great cast. So while I don't think it's a 4-star movie, it still did touch me personally in some way. And every time I watch it, I have a good time. I'm going to give it the 3.5. Does anyone have anything they want to add that they haven't had a chance to say?
Underarm sweat and rings.
Yeah, they have really good ones in this movie.
Body Heat is currently available to stream for free on FlixHouse and often shows up on TCM and the Criterion Channel. You can rent it on Apple, Amazon, and Fandango, or purchase the Blu-ray at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or other outlets. You can find Film Generations wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and if you like our show, please tell your friends. Please rate and review us so others can find us as well. I'd like to thank our panelists, Olive Goldberg, Sonia Howell, Guy Lewis, and our co-host and producer, David Tausik. Film Generations is an ElectraCast production. Executive producers are myself, Mark Netter, and my partner, Peter Rafelson. Our editor is Sonia Howell. On our next episode, we dial back 15 years to 1966 and another late August release, but this time in a much chillier climate. 2 women, a young nurse and her patient, who's a stage actress who has suddenly lost her voice, retreat to a Swedish country cottage where they find their personalities unexpectedly merging in unsettling ways. Once called the Mount Everest of cinematic analysis, it's Bibi Andersson and Liv Ullmann in writer-director Ingmar Bergman's experimental and enigmatic Persona. Will our panel of young film lovers find themselves in deep analysis over the psychological mystery, or just beg their shrink for an antidepressant? Join us as we all go mental on our next episode of Film Generations.
ElectraCast.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Tap the banner to learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Hi, I'm Mark. And I'm Peter. We're the founders of ElectraCast Media, bringing you great podcasts like Nightmare Road Stories, Tech Talk Revolution, and Bodacious Minds.
ElectraCast networks include Ruby for female empowerment, the Best Business Network, and GPN for geopolitics. We built this company to create community and amplify diverse voices, and we really appreciate your support.
So, keep listening to ElectraCast podcasts and hear the culture.
ElectraCast.